And tonight on the Daily Wrap, the first Democratic debate kicks off in just a few hours. We'll tell you what you can expect. Plus, a little controversy over moderator Anderson Cooper's involvement with the Clinton Global Initiative. And Planned Parenthood is changing its policies regarding fetal tissue. We'll tell you all about that because this is the Daily Wrap. We're live from New York City. And welcome to the show. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host Rick Unger. It's debate night. Finally, you Democrats are actually going to talk to each other.
One of six.
Can you imagine that there were 27 debates in 2008, and now they reduced it by, I'm not very good at math, but 21, I believe?
And I have to tell you, I'm not happy about it.
Really?
I think there's a little too much control being exercised by the chairman of the party here, and I believe that it's being done to favor certain candidates.
Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay, well, you'll let her know about it.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay, I believe that, actually. It's very connected. Two, Mr. Unger's right. She's America's pundit, a Philly attorney, and a world traveler, apparently. Heather Hansen, back from Ireland. And finally, he's an assistant online editor for Commentary Magazine, Noah Rothman, who stayed in the States. He is back as well. Okay, let's get right to the Daily Download.
Your opponents are saying that that's really part of a larger pattern with you, that you often avoid taking firm positions on controversial issues. And one of your opponents on this stage calls this the politics of parsing. How do you respond to that?
Well, Campbell, I am happy to be here tonight, and this pantsuit, it's asbestos tonight. So I am aware that some people say that, but I think that the American people know where I've stood for 35 years.
Senator Clinton, I think, is a capable politician, and I think that she has run a terrific campaign. But what the American people are looking for right now is straight answers to tough questions.
I can't get it. I'm being serious right now. They look so young.
Yeah, isn't that something?
Right?
Yeah.
That's only what, 7 years ago? 6 years ago?
8 years ago.
Particularly the president, boy.
Yeah.
I know, like, he was in his mid-40s pretty much when he was running at that point. Now he's in his 50s, but he looks 20 years older right now.
What happens
He
to
ages
presidents?
you, yeah.
Every
He
one of
does,
them.
yeah.
Roger Maris effect and Hillary.
It's amazing.
You know?
People don't seem to get how hard that job is.
I guess
I don't
so.
care what party
Stress,
you're from.
can you imagine?
It's just
But
a
even
brutal
Hillary,
job.
right? All that traveling seems to have an effect to a certain extent. And Campbell Brown looks just like Heather Hansen. Say that. Anyway, that was the 2007 Democratic debate from Las Vegas when then Senator Clinton received some tough questions about her lack of answering tough questions. Tonight, the former First Lady is back in America's playground for the first Democratic presidential debate of this campaign season. The frontrunner will be facing off with Senator Bernie Sanders, Governor Martin O'Malley, Governor Lincoln Chafee, and former Senator Jim Webb. Joe Biden looks like he's sitting this one out, much to CNN's chagrin. Hillary continues to lead in the polls. Once had a gigantic advantage. It's dwindled down to, we'll call it a commanding one over the last 6 weeks, at least if you look at the national polls. That is where Mrs. Clinton holds a 20-point lead over second place Bernie Sanders, while Vice President Joe Biden just 5 points behind Mr. Sanders, third place, 19%. Not bad for a guy who says, or at least hasn't declared that he's running. Martin O'Malley, well, at least he has 1%, and Webb and Chafee at 0.0. One obstacle Clinton needs to tackle, and she has recently with appearances on Saturday Night Live, Tonight Show, is her likability. Wall Street Journal NBC News poll last month shows 39% of adults had a positive image of the former First Lady compared to 47% who didn't. That ain't good. 5 months ago, it was 42-42, pretty even. If you look at a recent CBS poll as well, Noah Rothman, it's 33 favorable, 53 unfavorable. So, all that said, what does she have to do tonight?
Well, if her goal, let's define her goal. Her goal is to secure the party's nomination first, and then she moves on to the general election. If her goal is to secure the support of enough Democrats to get to the nomination, which doesn't mean 50+1 with a decently crowded field, it means a plurality. All she has to do is maintain her current standing, which means ignore the attacks, remain above the fray.
Will there be attacks?
There will be attacks. If you recall,
There haven't been to this point.
Well, there have been, but they've been rather tepid, and I expect they'll remain tepid. CNN has said we're not going to instigate a lot of fighting here, which is bizarre. But we'll leave that for another segment.
No. Let's talk about that now.
I have no idea why they're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
But we had Jake Tapper on the CNN debate, who was explicitly out there saying beforehand that he was going to instigate as much fighting, intramural fighting, as he possibly could. Here they're saying the exact opposite. We want to introduce everybody.
They're managing expectations is what they're doing, because I don't think these candidates are going to get involved in personal attacks. They'll argue a little policy, but that's about it. They knew what they were getting into the Republican debate, and this way it makes it look like they made it happen, and they're covering themselves this time because they know it's not going to happen.
And just a closing thought, because in 2007, Hillary Clinton was nailed on her illegal immigrant licenses issue by Chris Dodd, by
Explain what that issue is again.
Governor Elliott Spitzer at the time wanted to give illegal immigrants licenses. She supported it at the time, and then she flip-flopped. She flip-flopped right on the debate stage, and they really nailed her to the cross on that one. She's vulnerable on so many other issues now. If the Democrats in this field don't try to get her on her flip-flops, they're not serious.
I think the best part of what you just talked about, 3 words: Governor Elliott Spitzer. Wow, it has been a long time, hasn't it?
Noah does raise a great point. The one place where you will see some back and forth tonight is on the flip-flops. I think that's right.
You do? Who do you think is going to call her on them?
I think
Other than Bernie?
I think any one of them would be likely to do it because they happen so recently and they're so obvious.
I just feel like there's many on that stage who are looking for a VP nod and they don't want to
Well, that
make her
could be.
mad.
Then
And
it'd
so
be
I
Bernie.
don't see any. Bernie would
It
be
could
the
be
only
Bernie.
one.
That's
my
and he
question.
doesn't seem
But that's not personal. That's like, the
Right.
senator said this,
Policy.
and now the senator seems to
Policy.
think this.
Does anybody actually want this nomination? Because if you do, I believe you have to start attacking people. And I'm not saying be personal like a Donald Trump. And no, I'm just saying go after her. There are so many, as Noah said, so many opportunities, particularly with TPP, what she just did. She called that the gold standard when she helped write it in 2012.
Right.
This isn't hard. And she better get asked a question about that by Anderson Cooper, because to Noah's point, Jake Tapper declared, I'm going to basically start a food fight. And then Cooper says, no, we're going to keep it civil. Yeah. We're going to, and Sheryl Crow is doing the national anthem. This thing is upside down. Where was the national anthem during the Republican debate?
There wasn't time for
Well,
it.
that's because Democrats are good Americans.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Exactly. We got to move on. Okay. So when Rick was in Los Angeles for Politicon
Being
last
a good
weekend, being a good American, yes indeed, he got to ask some potential voters what they are looking for from this debate later tonight.
Any projections, any thoughts? What are you expecting from the debate?
Ooh, what am I expecting? Well, I'm hoping to see that Bernie Sanders comes out strong. I believe in a lot of the things that he has to say, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Do you think there's any chance that Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders will start to go at each other a little bit? Something they really haven't been doing.
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe when some topics come up, they might kind of go at it, but hopefully it'll be a fairly civil debate and not as dramatic as some of the other debates we've seen recently.
I'm hoping there to be a little bit more conciseness as opposed to the Republican debate that we all saw on CNN. I'm hoping to finally see something that will interest me from the Democratic Party.
And so far, you haven't seen that within the Democratic Party?
I just haven't seen too much from the Democratic Party lately, but I'd like to see something that supports me more. More stuff about college and tuition, because it's very high right now. And I am a struggling college student right now.
I feel that the Dems are where the GOP was a couple of races ago. Pretty thin bench. It's been really nice as a GOP person to have the bench that we have as far as candidates, but it should be interesting.
All right, so give me your projections. What do you think we're going to see Tuesday night?
Well, I think we're going to see O'Malley basically take the attack against Hillary because he needs the numbers, he needs the boost, and so he's going to be way out in front. I think Bernie's going to be the statesman. He's going to not be the attack dog, and he's just going to make it apparent that he's believed all these things all along for 40 years, and that what you're seeing is an establishment candidate that's just moving to the left for a nomination.
And that would
be? Well, it would be Hillary.
Interesting people out there. That is probably one of the more bluer states that you could possibly be in, so not hard to find people to talk about it.
That's right. There were a lot of young people, so obviously it was skewed more in the direction of liberals answering. There were a couple people there that were Trump supporters, though.
Interesting. And did you find that it was mostly Sanders amongst the youth?
Yes.
The youths?
Yes.
Yeah, that's how it pretty much works, right?
Yeah.
Anything for Webb, O'Malley, metric
I
system?
don't think anybody knows they exist. They're going to be shocked tonight and say, who are those people on the stage? You know?
Pretty
Maybe
much,
they'll
right?
make some impression.
I guess so. Well, this debate will be 2 hours, unlike the Republican debate,
Thank
which was 3
heavens.
hours, which is good news for Hillary Clinton because the shoes, and you got to wear the heels, and it's 3 hours. Anyway. So, what are you looking forward to in tonight's Democratic debate? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments and let us know. Coming up next, pork is now banned in prisons. No, it's not. We're not talking about that.
Was last night.
What happened? Because you were supposed to be here as a leader of the DNC, and all of a sudden you're still in Hawaii.
As you know, I've been pretty vocal about calling out for more debates. I've been calling for more debates to give the American people the opportunity to hear from these presidential candidates, to listen to what they've got to say, to hold them accountable for their views and their positions. Because that differentiated from the decision that the chairwoman made from the DNC, I was told that I was no longer welcome to come to the debate.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. As the Democrats prepare for their first national debate, things may not be quite so rosy inside the Democratic National Committee. It's now being reported that DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz, unhappy with the behavior and focus of DNE Vice Chair and Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who you just saw, has disinvited Gabbard from tonight's proceedings. Congressman Gabbard alleged, as you just saw, that she had been banned from the debate during an interview yesterday, only to cause some confusion when she suggested later in the day that the decision not to attend had been her own. She said she didn't want to be a distraction. As for Debbie Wasserman Schultz, she had loudly claimed that she never banned Congresswoman Gabbard from attending.
A vice chair of the DNC simply because she's recommending more debates. You disinvited her from coming here?
Well, first, that's simply not true. Herein lies the problem. You and I are now talking about Tulsi Gabbard rather than concentrating on our candidates, on the issues that are important to Americans, on drawing that contrast that she referenced in her interview with you yesterday were important. You know, we're a big tent party. Well, you know, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. The Congresswoman has made her opinion clear on, you know, the process. And, you know, unfortunately, you know, Congresswoman Gabbard continues to focus on process. Now, she was asked to focus on our candidates, and if she could keep the focus on our candidates, then, you know, that was what we thought was important.
So was Tulsi Gabbard, who happens to be one of the young up-and-comers in the Democratic Party, was she barred from attending her party's debate, or is this all some big old misunderstanding, Joe?
I know that we talk about Hillary Clinton's unlikability, and I know that I should be more professional about this, but I found Debbie Wasserman Schultz so profoundly unlikable. There's just nothing about her that is charming. There is nothing about her that I believe, and it has nothing to do with ideology or party. There is just something about this woman that I can't understand how she could be the chair of that party when there are so many better people out there. And the way this one was treated, of course it wasn't a misunderstanding, all right? This is the Politburo in action.
Well, the only thing, I would agree with that. The only thing that makes me wonder, and maybe somebody got to Tulsi, was she did, we heard what she said early in the day. She said she was disinvited, and then later she kind of changed the story, so I'm not sure.
Someone clearly got to her, and she realized that she may be better towing the party line. But isn't it democracy about speaking up about these issues? I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous that someone would be disinvited based on something
Especially
that they
when
had to
she's
say.
the vice chairman, one of the vice chairmen of the party.
Well, and she's so likable. I mean, I think that she's a good contrast to Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and that I find her very likable, and I think most of America does.
Yeah, I find it shocking that Debbie Wasserman Schultz still occupies her position. She's presided over the truncation of this party to a place that it hasn't been since the 1920s. She was supposedly going to be thrown out of her position, and then she managed to retain it, even over the objections of the President of the United States, because she reportedly threatened to cry sexism, that she was being jettisoned from her office because of sexist antipathy towards women. And now we have really credible reports, I think, of this party chairman trying to stifle dissent within her own ranks. It is a really terrible look. It doesn't say very much for the party, and it suggests that she shouldn't be in this role.
As the only Democrat seated at this table, you may be surprised to know that I completely agree with everything you guys have said. I don't like her either. I have a little bit of a different reason. This is somebody who can't answer a question.
Yeah.
If you ask her a question about Hillary Clinton, if you say, did you know that Hillary Clinton got a new pair of shoes this morning? She doesn't answer the question. She launches into her prepared speech about Hillary Clinton. Did you know that Bernie Sanders got up and had eggs for breakfast? She launches into her Bernie Sanders. It's so annoying to me. This woman cannot answer a question. But to your point, Noah, it used to be that the Democratic Party was the Big Tent party. It was the Republicans who would pretend to be a Big Tent, but they weren't. That is becoming a question mark now. It doesn't appear that the Democrats are such a Big Tent party when they're not allowing events to go forward. They're limiting the number of debates, and they're kicking out their own members of Congress and telling them they can't attend debates because they don't agree on everything. Are the Democrats now following in the footsteps of the GOP when it comes to inter-party warfare?
I think that for sure, but I think it's the leader. I don't think it's the Democrats. I think it is she that is the problem. And basing it on the fact that someone wants more than 6 debates and wants people to be able to hear the candidates seems to me as though trying to control the message. And what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
No, I disagree. I think there's an actual problem with the party. If the Republican Party wasn't in chaos constantly, we would be talking very much about the Democratic Party in decline. We have a party that is stifling dissent, that is stepping on opposition, that is reduced to regionalism, to little tiny pockets in urban centers and on the coasts. This is not a healthy party.
I'd hate to use a sports analogy here, but I'm going to use one
But you're
anyway.
going to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party reminds me of the New England Patriots if you take Tom Brady out of the equation. And if you take Hillary Clinton out of the equation, what is left? I mean, honestly, you would have Sanders, O'Malley,
That's very
Chafee
fair.
on that
That's
stage.
very
There
fair.
is no
The
depth.
Democrats have no bench.
But wouldn't they have a bench if it weren't for Hillary Clinton, though? I mean, and the Patriots, if
No.
they didn't have Tom
No,
Brady, they'd
actually,
have to build up somebody else for that position.
I think
I
the
saw his
reason
backup quarterback, trust me. He's fine.
Yeah, the reason they don't have a bench is because they've done such a poor job of electing governors in the states.
Oh, that's true.
That's where
true.
that
And
bench comes from.
and losing state level elections.
So the message I think we can give to DWS, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, time for you to go, girl. We don't want you anymore.
Comes
And
from the
that's
Democrat.
including the Democrat. It's just not happening. I do want to know what you think about the feud between Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Tulsi Gabbard. I always stress on Gabbard. I want to say Gabbard, the way it's spelled. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Let us know what you have to say about it. Coming up, did Jeb Bush actually send a plant to a Trump rally?
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can prove me wrong, but I don't think that you're a friend to woman.
I knew I shouldn't have picked her. I knew I shouldn't have picked her.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walks into Donald Trump's. Yes, Mr. Trump's. Of all the folks there, you really shouldn't have picked her. And oh, it only got worse from there.
If you become president, will a woman make the same as a man? And do I get to choose what I do with my body?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job. You're going to make the same if you do as good a job, and I happen to be pro-life. Okay?
Hopefully she doesn't want to be an actress anytime soon. Anyway, that sassy young woman was Lauren Batchelor. She's a staffer for the Jeb Bush 2016 campaign. What a surprise, yes. She was a plan, or at least that's what Donald Trump is saying right now. It took some time, but eventually, after a little digging, it was revealed that this was not Lauren's first gig in politics. Along with her work for Jeb, she also interns for the New Hampshire Senator Kelly Inouye as well. Of course, Donald Trump fired back on the Twitter saying, quote, "The arrogant young woman who questioned me in such a nasty fashion at No Labels yesterday was a Jeb staffer. How can he beat Russia and China?" Followed by, yes, Trump again. "How can Jeb Bush expect to deal with China, Russia, and Iran if he gets caught doing a plant during my speech yesterday in New Hampshire?" And that was retweeted over 1,400 times. Lauren's social media history has since been altered or completely deleted on the LinkedIn. So, what do you think of this whole scenario, and would you hire her to be in one of your movies?
Well, first of all, I am no Jeb Bush defender or anything else, but we are way overstating this. way too early. I'm not sure we should do that.
Her LinkedIn page said that she was a staffer on that campaign.
Yeah, and there's also she's an intern, and there's also pictures of her with every other candidate out there. I saw a picture of her with Marco Rubio. Look, she appears to be a volunteer for Jeb Bush. There is nothing that has been shown to indicate that Jeb Bush had anything to do with her showing up there.
That didn't look staged to you at all?
No, it looked staged by her.
Staged by her. That's right.
I think she's an obnoxious punk. But that doesn't mean that Jeb Bush sent her there to be an obnoxious punk.
That's right.
Guys, we're picking up here on social media craziness that happened in the period of an hour, and we're reporting it as news. And we shouldn't do that. I've got someone saying, why did she delete her history? I don't know. Why did she stand there with her hands on her thing? You know, you can't make these allegations until they're substantiated, and I think Heather's going to agree with me on this.
Before you jump in, can you call a female a punk?
It's
not a male gender kind of based.
I'm not a sexist.
No, think of the punk rock movement. Yeah, there's a lot of female punk rockers.
You make a good point with the punk rock movement.
She's obnoxious, this girl.
She's an actress. She's an actress. I mean, you talk about, is she going to be in a movie? She has a history of being involved in acting as well. I think that she definitely did this on her own. I think she has affiliations with a number of politicians.
We don't know if she definitely did this on her own or not.
That's right.
That's
right.
Which is why we shouldn't be claiming she's a plant.
Who claimed anything? I said the Trump campaign. I said the Trump campaign claimed that she was a plant. You want to rewind the tape?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll rewind the tape. Please do.
Ultimately, we will find out that this was her decision, that she went out on her own. And I don't think there's any campaign that is dumb enough to send a young girl who is so overacting to ask these types of questions. I think that she wanted to get a little bit of attention. She wanted to do something that she thought would be interesting. And she found herself in a whole lot of hot water.
Rothman?
No, I wouldn't put it past a campaign to be not dumb enough, as you put it, to put somebody out there like this. There are definitely campaigns that are that dumb. Interns and staffers get put in this position all the time. I wouldn't put it past a campaign to do this, but when you do it, they stay on the candidate's message. This woman sounded like a Democrat. She was going off on, where are you going to stop me from doing what I want with my body, and am I going to make as much as a man in Hillary 2016? That was just not the Jeb Bush message. So if she was a campaign plant, she was way off message.
And I think that there's something to be said. Yes, we've seen plants in the past. We've seen Trump himself have plants in his audience when he announced his candidacy to support his candidacy. Right. So we do see that, but we don't see them this dumb. We don't see people who come out in such a ridiculous way.
Lost in all of this was that Trump's answer was just fine.
Yeah, the answer was just fine.
Absolutely. He should be happy that this girl asked such a silly question in such a silly way.
Are we going to see more plants, whether they do it on their own or not, because there's so many town hall events now, and it's so easy to insert yourself in these situations?
There are definitely plants at almost every. I remember following the John Edwards campaign and seeing the same guy get up at 4 different events and asking the same question, right? So you will see plants, but I promise you, when you see them, you won't know they're plants.
Right.
They're not going to be silly people like
That's
this.
Right.
Wasn't the guy who asked Trump about, we got to get the Muslims out of here, and the president's a Muslim, and he had like the worst voice ever, and that seemed like bad acting as well. He was a plant as well.
Well, there's an argument. People are saying that. Nothing's been proven, but I think that you see that consistently in every campaign.
Right. Okay, well, either way, I don't even think Lifetime could hire her at this point, or the WB on the Vampire Diaries, because. Anyway, what do you think of Jeb Bush's alleged plant? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments and let your voice be heard. We may even read them later in the show. Up next, changes are coming to Planned Parenthood. We'll tell you what.
Do you defend the sale of baby body parts?
No. And I think that is really a total mischaracterization. Fetal tissue research, which, as I mentioned, was started, the whole commission that legalized and created the structure under fetal tissue research was started under the Reagan administration. And it is actually, what it does is facilitates fetal tissue donation. And that is actually, and as I said, fewer than 1% of our health centers do facilitate fetal tissue donation for the patient, but fetal tissue research has...
My time has run out. I just want to say this. It seems to me that the apology you offered was like what some criminals do. They're not really sorry for what they've done. They're sorry they got caught. And it seems to me that your apology is more because you got caught.
And welcome back to the Daily Wrap. After months of hidden camera videos allegedly revealing highly questionable behavior on the part of Planned Parenthood, the organization is now changing its reimbursement policies for obtaining fetal tissue for research. Planned Parenthood President Cecile Richards revealed the changes in a letter to the National Institutes of Health today. Quote, "Over the last 2 months, opponents of safe and legal abortion have turned patently false claims about our role in fetal tissue donation into fodder to advance their extreme political agenda. As I have stated repeatedly, the accusations leveled against Planned Parenthood are categorically false. Planned Parenthood adheres to the highest legal, medical, and ethical standards. The outrageous claims that have been made against Planned Parenthood are the worst kind of political interference in women's health. In order to completely debunk the disingenuous arguments that our opponents have been using and to reveal the true political purpose of these attacks, our Federation has decided that going forward, any Planned Parenthood health center that is involved in donating tissue after an abortion for medical research will accept no reimbursement for its reasonable expenses." Well, they will no longer be accepting reimbursement for fetal tissue, but will that make a difference in the eyes of those who oppose the organization, Heather?
I think that it will for many. The question for me remains, one of the major problems that I've had all along is the fact that they're not necessarily telling the women that they're taking this tissue and using it for experimentation. And on top of that, they're changing the way that they do the procedure, which is again against the law. So it doesn't address the concerns that I've had all along, although it does seem to address the concerns that the general media and the general public has had. And I do think it will quiet down the issue.
Yeah, I think those are fair points. But I do think, Noah, that the people who are against Planned Parenthood, and we all know why, this isn't going to change their feelings one way or another. Didn't they really just see this as an opportunity to possibly shut down the funding of Planned Parenthood, which they think would help in terms of stopping abortions?
Well, I'm not sure if you're supposing there that the opposition to what Planned Parenthood is doing, insofar as it's possibly selling fetal tissue that it takes from abortions for remuneration. We don't know whether or not they're doing that yet, and whether you believe that that's in good faith. I happen to think it's in good faith. I think that there's really genuine moral revulsion to that. What we learned in that hearing that was so bungled by Republicans, the one thing they managed to get out of them is that Planned Parenthood doesn't perform mammography, which they say they do, which they raise money on, which they've suggested many, many times that this is something they do. They lied. They have lied repeatedly.
Wait, I think lying, I'm just going to say, I think lying is overstating it. You're right, they don't. But what they do in many places is they will bring that truck in on a certain day. And the women do come into Planned Parenthood, and that way they get exposed to it. You're absolutely right. They don't have that equipment on site, but they do arrange for them.
Okay, so we've established that they're sort of fudging the truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to say they stretch, in my opinion.
So we really don't know whether or not they're fudging the truth when it comes to fungible reimbursements for fetal tissue, storage, transportation, et cetera, et cetera. We don't know whether or not that's the truth. There's a big investigation that needs to be had here, whether we find the smoking gun, and a lot of people are just really reticent to have that investigation.
Well, Joe, a lot of the states, there's only a few states where this was all happening, and a lot of the states have completed their own investigations, and so far, Planned Parenthood has come up clean. So I don't know if that's going to make a difference. Again, as I say, those who were feeling strongly about the videos and wanted to defund Planned Parenthood, the videos were an opportunity in their mind. It was really about they don't like Planned Parenthood because they perform abortions quickly.
If the money Planned Parenthood was receiving was a legitimate reimbursement, then why cancel it like they did now? What I saw today, Rick, was an admission of guilt and maybe an opportunity to try to call off the dogs. Like, look, we are giving you something. We're not going to accept this anymore. Again, why cancel if it was legitimate in the first place?
Fair question, which we'll have to leave without an answer. More than 80 million Americans make up the baby boom generation. Astoundingly, many of them have done little to plan for their retirement. The Baby Boomer Survival Guide is here now to help boomers prepare with money-saving tips and valuable advice like bumping up your Social Security checks, the best states to move to when you're ready to retire, and information that is key to getting the health screenings you need to improve longevity. Yes, the baby boom generation can thrive in retirement, and this guide explains how. To see the free offer for the Baby Boomers Survival Guide, visit newsmax.com/boomerbook or call us toll-free at 800-251-7319. Coming up next, your viewer comments. Stay with us.
Welcome back to The Wrap. Let's read some of your viewer comments. First up, we have a comment about our great prison pork debate. Michael says they are banning pork from prisons. They claim it is because inmates don't like it or because of the price. Nonsense. If that were the case, they would just stop buying it. It is the same with anything else that is no longer useful in the prison system. Rick is already vexed. Anyway, they just stopped buying it. An official ban on pork only serves one purpose, and that is to appease Muslims. CARE is correct in their claim that this ban serves Muslim interests. According to the ban, is just the way to let Muslims know that they are winning. Okay, so you had a vexed look on your face. You did something with your hands that was weird. Why don't you jump in first? Let's talk about this.
That's the whole point. The federal prison system did stop buying the pork. They didn't. They don't sell meals in prison, Michael. It's part of the deal. You get room and board, right? So they plan menus, and things are on the menus, and the prisoners eat them. It's not like they're going out and buying it. If they do want to buy it, they can still buy pork in the prisons at the commissary. They can buy pre-cooked bacon. They can buy pork rinds, but it comes out of their own wallet. It's not provided by the prison.
I had a meal card when I was in school.
When you were in prison?
Well, that too, but but it was horrible because you swipe and a certain dollar amount came off, and like in November I was out of money.
You were out of money, of course.
You know, help. Did you hear about this story?
I did hear about it,
Okay.
yeah. And yeah, I think that the whole commissary thing works in that fashion, but you have to get money from the outside.
Yes.
So it's not like you.
Banned. It's
Yeah,
just
it's not
not
exactly
available.
banned.
Not available on the menu.
And I don't know if Islam is the only religion that prohibits eating pork.
Yes.
Like halal and kosher are
Judaism.
virtually
Yeah.
identical eating cultures.
Yeah.
They just have different.
Yeah. By
religious
the way,
philosophies.
Michael, in case you didn't hear it, they've been providing Muslims and Jews with special meals to meet their dietary religious needs for years.
Okay, I'm getting hungry. Move on. You got the next comment.
Okay, we also got a few comments about Sergeant Bo Bergdahl. James says, although I don't know all the facts, it appears from all the information I have seen that Bergdahl deserves at least some jail time, if not a firing squad.
Very interesting. Gary says, I believe this administration is capable of lying about anything to save face, including the Bergdahl desertion. It's interesting in the comment that you read, Donald Trump actually advocates.
Yes, he did.
Or at least brings up the good old days when you would bring somebody out to a firing squad and actually execute them. He's calling for the execution of Bo Bergdahl.
The one thing that everybody, I think, agrees on is that he may have defected, but it was not originally intentional, which means he wouldn't qualify for execution.
Right.
I do understand his argument, though. If you believe the administration is forcing these generals to take a certain point of view, then I buy your point of view.
He should be doing some sort of jail. And the president did have a celebration in the Rose Garden with his parents.
With his
Yes,
parents,
he did.
yeah, it would be a lot of
And his father
eating
did not
crow
give us
if they
reason
had
to
go. No
feel
way.
better
Are
about
you
it all.
kidding?
Right, and Secretary Rice did say that he served with honor and distinction. I mean, it's just, he has to, there's no ramifications here, no accountability,
we still
and who
need to
knows
hear
what
all the
Marines
facts.
lost their lives searching for him, like in Saving Private Ryan.
We still need to hear all the facts.
Okay,
I
just
feel
one
like
quick
we
thought on
haven't.
that, Noah.
No, yeah, his platoon mates allege that individuals who went out searching for him were attacked, and some actually died in combat trying to recover him, and that deserves to be addressed.
Although the Pentagon is saying that there's absolutely no proof of that. Don't know, but that's what they're saying.
Interesting. You're up.
Okay, here's a comment about President Obama's plan to use an executive order to change gun legislation. Kitty says, Obama is trying very hard to make as many changes to our country before he is out of office. He wants to be unrecognizable when he is done. Oh, he wants it to be, unrecognizable when he is done. Huh? You might be right. At least you acknowledge that he plans to leave office after 2 terms.
You know what's amazing, though? I thought that after the Democrats lost the Senate in 2014. All right, now they don't have 2/3 of the government, basically.
Right.
I thought he is a complete lame duck because he had big ticket items. He's not going to get anything through, and he finds ways to do it. I'm not praising it. I don't agree with anything that he's doing,
Right.
but he is active and he's resilient. He's the dog who won't let go of the frisbee.
Well, and it's setting the ground for the next president. I mean, if you can do all these kind of things by executive order, we need to be very careful as to who it is that we're electing.
Yep, and Hillary Clinton just evoked that. Said, okay, you know what, gun rights? Okay, I'm going to evoke executive order. That's the new play now because Congress is so unpopular. Scary is a good word to describe it. Okay, do we have any other? Yes, we do. More than 80 million Americans, this is actually me teasing something, make up the baby boom generation. And astoundingly, many of them have done little planning for retirement. The Baby Boomer Survival Guide is here to help boomers prepare with money-saving tips and valuable advice like bumping up your Social Security checks, the best states to move to, not Jersey, and information on key health screenings to improve longevity. Yes, the baby boom generation can thrive in retirement, and this guide explains how. Rick is a baby boomer.
Rick is a baby boomer, and let me tell you, this is a useful. I actually looked through this book.
You did?
I did. It's useful. It is a little bit trickier than you think. Getting ready for Medicare, understanding how to do all these things. I just signed up for Medicare. You know, it takes some time. It's worth doing a little research. You'll be happy you did.
Well, there you go, a free plug. And to see the free offer for the Baby Boomer Survival Guide, simply visit newsmax.com/boomerbook or call toll free at 1-800-251-7619. That's 1-800-251-7619. Up next, it's happy time, people. It's time for Yay or Nay. We have a potpourri of interesting topics. You're not going to want to go anywhere. And hello there again. We're just about out of time, but still have about 5.5 good minutes left to explore the most important issues of the day via our nightly Yay or Nay. They say to be more intimate with the audience. I'm trying to do that.
They're doing the Daily Wrap after dark.
After dark. I can say welcome back to the Daily Wrap 6 times a show, or we can mix it up a little bit. Heather, laugh.
Go ahead.
Anyway, first up, Republican presidential frontrunner Donald Trump just told a bipartisan convention dedicated to, get this, improving civility in public discourse, that he will be less divisive on the campaign trail. Inviting Trump to a convention dedicated to improving civility in public discourse is like inviting Jack Kevorkian to a CPR class, but that's a conversation for another time. Anyway, speaking at the Problem Solvers Convention sponsored by No Labels and The Hill, Trump defended his insults at opponents as mainly defensive and necessary given the crowded field. Trump says once the number of candidates dwindles down, so will the attacks. Yay or nay question to start off this night. Do you actually believe him?
I need a technical ruling. Is sitting in your gold-covered living room on your couch,
which you're familiar
tweeting, does that count as being on the campaign trail?
Yes.
Well, then he's lying. Then he's lying. If he's not, if sitting in your thing tweeting is not on the campaign trail because you're on the couch, he's telling the truth.
Okay, very good. He will be live tweeting tonight, as we discussed earlier.
Yes, he will.
Heather.
I think he's consistently said that he only goes after people who go after him. And if people continue to go after him, I don't see that stopping.
Tell Ben Carson that.
Tell Ben Carson.
He started. Trump started insulting Ben Carson.
He always
never
starts
went
insulting.
after him.
That's what makes that ridiculous, is that he always opens with the insult, and then they punch back, and he says, I'm a great counterpuncher.
Yeah.
So, yeah. No.
Okay, that's a yeah.
That's a yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next, get out your best reading it for the articles jokes, because Playboy is about to stop running nude photos in its soon-to-be formerly legendary magazine. The New York Times is reporting that a top editor convinced Hugh Hefner, we call him Rick's sophomore year roommate at Ohio State, that it was a good idea to do so. Chief Executive Scott Flanders, no relation to Ned, explained, quote, you're now one click away from every sex act imaginable for free. And it's just so passé at this juncture. Is this a sign of the apocalypse, is your yay or nay question? Yay or nay, Noah?
No, yeah, I don't see what the problem is here, because the business model has really been run out of town. So, you know, good for them that they're transitioning to something a little bit more meaty and intellectual. I don't know what else they could do.
Very good.
I think that it's a good business decision. Get better advertising this way, more people that are allowed to buy it. I think it's smart.
Ooh. It's only an apocalypse if you're a 12-year-old boy from another era.
That's right.
Otherwise, yeah, everything's online.
You all make sound arguments, but and look, this will go badly for me no matter how I try to defend this, particularly with my wife watching. Right, but no, every day I get the New York Post, and I like to read something in my hands. And same thing with Playboy. It is art that they do in there.
It's art.
Sorry, honey, I don't.
It's art.
We don't.
The centerfolds are art.
No.
This is all part of that more intimate.
Yeah,
we're doing
more
this
intimate joke.
a smoking jacket with a
It's a
Cavassier.
study in lighting on the theme. Yeah.
All right, finally tonight, a 23-year-old Florida woman is facing a DUI charge. All right, we hear that every day. This, however, after police say she live-streamed her drunken drive home on the Periscope app. Lakeland, Florida police say people watching her video, you see it there, called 911 to report it. You hear her saying she's drunk, says Sergeant Gary Gross, Lakeland Police spokesman. I gotta tell you, I was a little shocked. After 30 years in law enforcement, I have never seen anything like this before. Okay, so should this girl lose her license for life and be ordered to go back to school, starting with first grade, a la Adam Sandler in the movie Billy Madison? I ask you, yea or nay, Heather.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. I mean, she is just beyond. This on-camera living is just taking it to the nth degree.
There's 1,000 things wrong with this. When you text and drive, you could kill yourself.
Exactly.
She's filming herself while drunk.
And what we're not hearing on what we're seeing, we're not hearing what she's saying, where she's saying, I ought to be getting a DUI. I mean, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
She's begging
A lot of people drive drunk. It's remarkably stupid. This woman got caught because she broadcast it. There's something a little good about that.
Right, right. Hopefully she'll go to jail, unlike Bo Bergdahl. Anyway, that's our show for tonight. Tune in tonight, however, at 10:30 for our post-debate coverage with Steve Malzberg, Rick Unger, and Dick Morris. On behalf of the aforementioned Unger, Heather Hansen, and Noah Rothman, thank you for watching tonight. The Steve Malzberg Show. That's next.